Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're the Tomorrow Guys. I'm Shaylor.
And I'm Jonathan.
And today we're going to look at the top 5 things that Jonathan and I are looking forward to the most about our upcoming trip to Disneyland.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited about that.
So, yeah, we're going to Disneyland in just over a week now. And so we decided that we were going to sit down and make a list of the top 5 things that we're looking forward to the most. They're kind of, my list is kind of in order, but that could change depending on my mood. So I have 5 things that I'm looking forward to the most. I also have one thing that I'm not looking forward to. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
So who do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Oh, man. Let me get my list out because, I do have a list. Okay. Reverse order, right? 5 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to do number 1.
Okay.
This is really simple, but I really miss the Disneyland version of Pirates. So that's like number 5 on my list right now.
Yeah.
Is that I just love the whole, I love everything about Disneyland Pirates. Yeah. It's longer. I think it's better.
It's almost twice as long.
Yeah, I don't know if it's twice as long, but it's long. The beginning is just fabulous.
Well,
through the bayou and everything like that.
I think the Disney World version is somewhere around 8 minutes, and the Disneyland version is just over 14. So, you're talking almost twice as long. But
it's a great ride. So that's number 5 on my list. What's number 5 on yours?
Well, so I kind of cheated. So my number 5 thing on my list is the thing I'm looking forward to the most is all things unique to Disneyland. So,
you cheated.
Yeah, I totally cheated because I was like, I just can't sit down and I can't put it all like in one. So like when you go to Disneyland, because I know some people, are just East Coast people and some people are just West Coast people, but there's just something so unique about the Disneyland park. Things like, so the Matterhorn is on there, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is on there, the Submarine Voyage is on there, but that Pirates of the Caribbean, like the fact that it is it's almost a completely different ride.
Right. No, I like it.
The Storybook Land, the canal boats, the train, like when I go to the parks, there's just something about
Mr. Lincoln, did you say Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Lincoln's on there. There's something about just being in Disneyland that it has some unique things that doesn't no other park anywhere in the world has, and even Walt Disney World doesn't have it. So
Walt's apartment.
Yeah, Walt's apartment.
When you first walk in, I always look over to see the light on in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
the Lily Bell.
You cheated, but I'll let you get by with that. Okay, so my number 4 is a little bit of a cheat. Not as big a cheat as yours. But everything Fantasyland at Disneyland.
Yeah.
I think that Fantasyland still has the magic. Not that Walt Disney World doesn't have some magic, but it's lost. It's bigger, but it's not. I don't think it's better.
There's a reason they call it the concrete jungle.
Yeah, I mean, Disneyland's Fantasyland. It's smaller, but it has, I think, more attractions per square foot. And there's unique attractions. Mr. Toad's still there.
Yeah.
Right? And Alice in Wonderland's there. That's nowhere else in the world.
No. And I'm still bitter that they took Mr. Toad out of Walt Disney World because it had 2 tracks, and it started off, you went head on at the other car, and then you went into to the Toad Hall. And I just don't. I know I'm supposed to forgive, but Disney World, I don't forgive you for taking out Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Oh my gosh! If you knew what his profession was, that would really be sad. He's not forgiving. So, yeah. So, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is eating at Steakhouse 55. So we have a reservation for the restaurant Steakhouse 55, which 55. It stands for 1955, which is the year that Disneyland opened. And so there's a steakhouse inside the Disneyland Hotel that gets great reviews all the time. We live in Texas. I love steak.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to eat well.
I'm looking forward to the cake.
Yeah.
The whatever 20 some odd layer chocolate cake that just, they're thin. It looks wonderful. Everybody that's had it says great. I'm looking forward to the steak too, but the reviews I've read on this dessert, and I'm a dessert guy, you know that.
Yeah, well,
So
this will
I'm
be
really looking forward
this
to
will be a
that.
first time experience for both of us.
Yeah.
Neither one of us have eaten at Steakhouse 55 before. If anybody knows me well, I love to eat, love it. So I'm looking forward to Steakhouse 55.
Okay, you ready for my number 3?
Okay.
True park hopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're 100 feet each park. You know, Disney California Adventure and Disneyland, 100 feet from each other. I mean, you can literally just hop over, do something on one park, and hop back over. And now with the addition of this new Max Pass, from what I'm reading, if you're in either park, you can book a fast pass for the other park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you could be in Disneyland, you may be eating on Main Street, and you say, you know, can I get a fast pass for, you know, Radiator Springs Racers? And boom, you got it, and you could walk right across, you know, over past the Esplanade and through and be there. So I like the park hopping there because it really truly, you don't have to get on a bus. It doesn't take you 30 or 45 minutes to go from one park to the other.
I'm kind of interested to experience Max Pass for the first time. We were just talking about this before we started this episode. Last time we were out at Disneyland, we were in line for Goofy Sky School, and Jonathan was like, hey, let's go ride Tower of Terror. And I was like, all right, you stay here. You wait in line. It's about 15 minutes. I thought I could run over there, put our tickets in to get our fast pass for Tower of Terror, and come back and jump back in line with him and ride it. But it took me so long to get across the other side of the park that he had to ride that by himself. And then by the time I got back, he had finished. And it was just like, I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, but with the Max Pass, we can sit there while we're in line, pull it up, and say, "Hey."
So is that your number 3?
No, that's not my number 3.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is riding the new Guardians of the Galaxy. So when I first heard that they were taking out the Tower of Terror and just kind of retheming it, and it looked like they were just going to slap Guardians of the Galaxy on there to get Marvel into the park. But everything I've read about it says that, and all the reviews that I've read say that this is truly a great attraction. Yeah. So I'm going to reserve my judgment and wait and go ride it myself.
Have you watched any videos?
No, I haven't watched the video.
Okay, I cheated. I've watched the video, and I will say I am looking forward to this. And it would have made my top 5, but I was a little picky this time. But it's in my top 10. But yeah, I want to ride it. I have seen videos of the Rocket Raccoon animatronic.
I heard that was great.
It's pretty phenomenal from what I've seen, and it's always better in person. So yeah, okay. So that's your number. That's your number 3. Okay, my number 2 is somewhat of a cheat as well, because I'm not only excited about Steakhouse 55. I'm excited about all the food at Disneyland. So mine is the food because, you know, one of the things me and Shaylor, you know, we've traveled a couple of times together now, and we've already created, I think, a tradition. Like, because we usually get there to the parks around noon, right? On our first day. Yeah. And we made a beeline for the corn dog cart.
Yeah.
And love that. I mean, probably the best corn dog outside of the State Fair of Texas, which probably has the best. Fletcher's.
Not going to disagree with that.
Yeah. So but they're great. Love churros. Churros. I mean, those are awesome. The food, the food at the Cove Bar over by Paradise Pier, the lobster nachos are amazing. I mean, those are just great. You haven't had those yet.
Well, we're going to talk about it in a second.
I may have stepped on one of his. And Steakhouse 55, which you already mentioned. I mean, Steakhouse 55 is, you know, that's been on my top, my top list.
It does
for a long
seem
time.
like, for whatever reason, it does seem like Disneyland in general has better counter service food than Walt Disney World.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they have. Well, they have to because they have fewer sit downs.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only in the Magic Kingdom. There's only 3 or 4. You cannot count Club 33 because that's that you have to belong to that. But
we're working on it.
Blue Bayou, you have the one in New Orleans, the other one in New Orleans. There's 2 in New Orleans that are sit downs, and then I think there's one other. There may be 4 sit downs. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting my restaurants. And then there's one in DCA, right? There's only one.
Carthay Circle, and then there's the little place where that vineyard is. I think.
That may be sit down. Yeah, but they don't have the sheer amount of volume that Disney World has. So I think they have to make their counter service food better. Plus, they have locals that don't want to spend the money on the sit down restaurants. They're just coming in for maybe 3 or 4 hours. So yeah, I think their counter service is better.
Yeah. So my number 2 is those lobster nachos. I've been hearing about these things for a while. He went in December and was like, dude, I tried the lobster nachos. These things are phenomenal. And so it made my list. I like lobster. I like nachos. Whoever decided to marry those 2 things together is obviously a genius. And so I'm going to go have them. It's at the Cove Bar and Disney California Adventure. I hear they're pretty big. I'm not planning on sharing with you. And
no, I'm not sharing either because
I'm going to eat them. So that's my number 2.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I'm not afraid to eat.
My number 1 is so simple, and everybody's going to think this is so stupid.
I think we might have the same number 1.
I don't know.
Okay.
So I was in Disneyland in December and suffered through the worst crowds I've ever experienced at Disneyland. And there was no railroad. My number 1 is the railroad. I want to ride the new railroad.
The Grand Circle
Tour with the new upgrades to the Grand Canyon and Primeval World part of it, but also the new trestle with the waterfall and all that.
First left-hand turn in Disney Park history.
I'm really looking forward to it. Matter of fact, I'm hoping that's the first thing we do when we walk through. I've never done that before. I want to walk in, go up, get on the train at Main Street, and just do the whole tour, come back around. And
after you get your corn dog, right?
It depends on how hungry I am. Either go get the corn dog, come back and do it, or if I'm not that hungry, get on there, do it, and then go get the corn dog.
So that's my number 1 too.
Really?
The Grand Circle Tour. Because, there's something about the train at Disneyland that it gives the park its soul.
You know what? I think it does. It is the soul. It surrounds the park. It's like Walt's warm embrace. Because it all started, he wanted a place to put a train.
Yeah.
And it's so much better than Walt Disney World. That's the one thing I'm really disappointed about Disney World. They haven't done enough to the train out there to make it special. There's
something about, with the train being reopened, I'm curious to see what the train's going to look like on the backside of the park with the new stuff that they put back there. But then especially after you go through the Tomorrowland station and you're coming back around the main street and you go through that Grand Canyon concourse, there's something about that.
Well, it's not the concourse. We keep calling it that. That's the contemporary out in Walt Disney World. It's the Grand Canyon and Primeval World.
Yeah.
Dioramas.
Dioramas. You're right. Dioramas. Sorry. Yeah. Excuse me for ruining.
I got you to say that because I said that the other day. It's like
when you go through that, there's something that just is special about that's unique to Disneyland that you don't get anywhere else. And
I do feel Walt.
Yeah.
I do feel Walt. And Shaylor and I for the 60th, we actually got to ride in the Lily Bell, and I don't even think it's out there anymore. I think they've taken it off the tracks, which was Walt's private car, and I really felt it there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was pretty awesome. So that's our top 5.
The tears were streaming down our face.
Let me go through mine real quick again. Just 5th one was Pirates. 4th one was just Fantasyland. The 3rd one was true park hopping without having to take a bus or a monorail. The food in general and the railroad. And yours were?
Mine are just being things that are unique to Disneyland, just being in Disneyland. 4 was Steakhouse 55. 3 was riding Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 was eating the lobster nachos. I mean, I could have made a list of just all the things I want to eat, but I was like, I need to try to diversify. 2 was the lobster nachos, and then 1 is the Grand Circle Tour. So I've got one thing that I'm not looking forward to.
Oh, what's that?
And I can't stand walking into Disneyland and seeing the People Mover track vacant. It just bothers me. And we've talked about this before. Yeah. And every time I walk in and I see the People Mover track, and I'm like, why have you not fixed this?
Bring it back, Bob.
Yeah,
Bring
come
it
on,
back.
Bob. Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Do something.
You know, before you leave, you spent all that money on Shanghai.
Which you didn't put a train at Shanghai.
Yeah, you didn't do that. I mean, that's, but bring back the People Mover.
Come on. We'll forgive you for not putting a train around Shanghai Disneyland if you bring back the People Mover.
Yeah. Maybe.
Do it.
Maybe. Got to decide.
So I just, you know.
Okay, so I have two other things that we agreed on that we wouldn't put on our top 5 list.
Because it just trumps everything.
So it trumps everything. So I'm going to let you, what's the one thing that trumps everything?
So we're staying, the last night, we're staying at the Disneyland Hotel. It'll be both of our first times to stay at the Disneyland Hotel. And for me, like, I remember going to Disneyland as a kid and taking the monorail from the Tomorrowland station over to the old Disneyland Hotel station. And like, when you're a kid, like, you just sit there and you just think, someday when I grow up and my parents aren't being cheap, I'm going to come back and I'm going to stay at this place.
Your parents aren't being cheap.
Well, what a brat. My parents are taking me to Disneyland.
I'm taking you to Disneyland. You're complaining because you're not staying at the hotel.
Come on, guys. Fork it over. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, that sounds like that. Yeah, that was. We both agreed that would be our number one on our list, so we decided that we would just make that a special. I have one that actually trumps that for me.
What's that?
And it goes back to one of my favorite things to do. And that's taking people that have never been before. And we're going to have a lot of our friends out there that we're going to get to show around that have never been to Disneyland. Some of them have been to Disney World.
Yeah, and they just don't know, man. They just don't know when you go out to Disneyland. It's different.
It's different. It's a different experience. It's similar. Mm-hmm. And it's Disney magic, but it's different. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to taking those people. Just meeting up with them and say, hey, come over here and look at this, look at this thing, look what Walt did, and it's a different type of experience in a lot of ways. And so I love doing that stuff. I like taking people that have never been before to something. And that's, so.
That's real nice. I'm going to have a good time whether they're there or not.
I would have a good time whether they're there or not. I'll have a better time because they are.
Yeah. So
that's it for this episode. But we want to start sharing a tip for today. That's what we're going to call
the Tomorrow Guys tip for today.
Yeah, and the first one we're going to have, because we just talked about new people going, is we want to talk about the tip of getting to the parks early.
How do you open up the Disneyland park?
Right. And I've been a big believer of this ever since I started. And basically, get to the parks at least 30 minutes early before they open. So if they have an 8 o'clock opening, be standing in line at 7:30. Now, you're sitting there going, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I'm on vacation. What the heck am I going to get up that early for?
But I promise you, those first 2 hours in the park, you're going to do more rides than you'll do the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. It's just, there's not that many people there. It'll seem like there's a lot of people there, but there's not that many people there. And you just go boom, boom, boom. And
my strategy for rope drop is standing in line. So they'll actually open up Main Street before they actually drop the rope, right. So you can kind of go into the center part of the park.
That's why you get there early.
And then once they drop that rope, my first thing is I'm going to Peter Pan because there's no fast pass for the Fantasyland rides, and that will be
talking Disneyland.
Disneyland. That will be a 45-minute to at least to an hour line all day long, and it'll never stop. So I'm going to jump in that first.
Yeah.
For those of you that want to then knock out Dumbo, some people really like Dumbo. I mean,
you definitely want to do that.
Yeah, so you can go Peter Pan, Dumbo. From there, you can jump over to Alice in Wonderland. Uh-huh. And then after that, you can either go to Mr. Toad's or run over to Tomorrowland, and you can get in line. You can get a fast pass for Space Mountain and ride Star Tours, or you can reverse that. You can get a fast pass for Star Tours and ride Space Mountain. And just right there in those 30, 45 minutes, you just knocked out.
And if you have little kids,
5 major
if you have little kids and you can't ride Space Mountain or you can't ride Star Tours, you just stay in Fantasyland and ride everything. And you'll have that knocked out by, if the park opens at 8, you'll probably have all that knocked out by 9:30. I mean, pretty much you can ride almost everything there in an hour and a half, depending on the day. I've actually ridden Peter Pan back to back without ever waiting. Just getting on, go back through the line, and then I'm right back on.
Wow.
I've done that. And for Walt Disney World, it's very similar. The difference in Walt Disney World is that you have Fast Pass Plus. So if you have a Fast Pass Plus for, say, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, my suggestion is then go to Peter Pan first thing when the park opens, or flip it. You know, if you have a Fast Pass for Peter Pan, go to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. The other piece of advice for that would be, you know, I have a feeling, or I have a belief on Fast Pass Plus, is that you should schedule them for later in the day if you're going to be at the same park. So I would go at Disney World, I go straight to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train because that thing fills up really fast. And then I go straight over to Peter Pan and ride that. But you can get so much done early in the day. So that, I think that's
and then you can go back and take your nap.
Right.
So, you know, you get up early, you get it all done, you go back and take your nap,
Yeah.
and then you can go have a nice casual evening.
Well, and that's a tip 1.2 there, because if you have little kids, you know, do the mornings. And then around noon, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, nobody wants to see their kids crying
go
in
back
the park.
go back to the hotel. Let them have a swim. Make them take a nap, and then come back around 5 or 6. You'll be so much happier that you did that. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm Shaylor.
I'm Jonathan.
We're the Tomorrow Guys.